Hey guys, hope you're having a wonderful day so far. So I am going to start off today's notes, which is dividing rational numbers, with reviewing our sixth grade reference sheet. I'm not sure exactly what I called it that day I recorded it with you, but this is what I'm referring to. There you go. And all I wanted to do is kind of quickly go through the rules that we should be familiar with, but I know it's been a while since we've seen them in sixth grade. So the first one is for dividing with decimals. And this one is all about moving the decimal to create a whole number on the outside, okay? So for example, I moved this decimal outside or to the end in order to make this a whole number, okay? Once you do that movement, we need to make sure to repeat this for the dividend, right? If I move it once, I move it once there. If I move it 5 times, which I would never do to you guys when we do this by hand, that would be just ridiculous. But if I've moved it 5 times on the outside, I move it 5 times on the inside. Now, I say the outside because that is this number located outside of what some kids have called the house. I don't know if that's what they say in elementary school, but we call that one the divisor, right? It's what we're dividing by. Once that's a whole number, and change this one to a whole number and replace it there. I have seen kids do that down here, and then it just kind of gets a little bit messy. So I'm going to try this technique where we move it before we even start working. Okay. Another thing I want to point out is up here, it says AKA, that means also known as. So I could write division this way, which is kind of the elementary version, or the older you get, the more you're going to see it written like this. So it looks like what we might think of as like a complex fraction or something. But remember division, 7/8 as a fraction is 7 divided by 8 to a decimal. They are division problems in disguise. So I'm going to try and write at least one example this way for both decimals and fractions. Next one, fractions, to be honest, I think are a little bit easier when dividing because I have a lot more ugly numbers with the decimals. So for fractions, remember we keep, change, flip is usually what people have learned. Keep that first, change the sign to times, and then flip that second fraction to its reciprocal. In fact, I'm going to add that on my notes, reciprocal. Okay, so we flip it over. That's it. And then we multiply across like normal. You can cross cancel if you want. Once you flip it, that might be something we add in our example. And then my favorite is throwing a problem out like this. It looks really scary at first, but it's again, just the kind of the more, let's say more educated, because that's not the right way to say that, the more mature way to write the division, right? Okay, so let's do some examples. I'm gonna go ahead and just start a new page here. And I'm gonna go ahead and start with fractions because it's where I left off, just going over them. So let's do number 1. You can see it, good. All right, 4/5 divided by -2/3. And like already it's like, whoa, freaking out, okay? Remember, it's not anything to stress about. So when we divide with fractions, we need to keep, change, flip. So I'm gonna go ahead and even write K, C, F, okay? And I'm gonna keep the 4/5. I'm gonna change my division sign 10 times and flip my -2/3 to -3/2. Notice my reciprocal, the signs were the same, right? It's not like, oh, if it was negative before, it's positive after. Nope, it is exactly the same sign. We just flip it over, okay? Let's see, I kind of want to color coordinate this one just a bit, so apologize, give me a sec here. I'm going to keep the first. Good to hear again, right? Change that sign to times. And we flip, but not change the sign of the second fraction, okay? Now you're allowed to cross cancel once flipped. Okay. It does not work to cross cancel before you do that rotation. Come on in. Hold on. Let me just pause my video. Oh, it's okay. I'm sorry. Teacher needed something. So where was I? Color coordinated. You can cross cancel once they're flipped. So I'm going to go ahead and cross cancel. I do really like the shortcuts. Wait. Oh, my screen shared. There we go. Oh, that would have been bad. That would have been bad. Okay. So I'm going to choose to cross cancel the 4 and the 2. In fact, it's the only one that I can do. 3 and 5 don't have that factor in common. So 2 divided by itself is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And now I'm going to multiply straight across, just like I did with multiplying fractions. 2 times -3 is -6. And 5 times 1 is 5. I cannot leave it improper, so I'm going to change that to -1 and 1/5. Okay. All right, let's do another one. Number 2. Okay, so this is kind of a cool set. We're going to do these two together. Let's do -3 divided by 1/4 and 1/4 divided by -3. So there's a question on your future benchmark that looks similar to this and asks you like what quotients match each other. And there's some that are like this on there. And I've seen consistently in the past where there's kind of this struggle between like, how are these different, right? And so I want to show you step by step how these are different from each other. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is label keep, change, flip. Keep, change, flip, because I do need to rewrite both of these to addition. Now I could, as a backup plan, I could change 1/4 to a decimal and divide with my calculator that way. But I do want to show you these in fraction world. Okay, so I have -3. I'm going to put that over 1 times flip 1/4 and 4 over 1. Go ahead and just do the second problem too, right across. I'm going to keep 1/4, change the sign to times, flip -3, it's become -1/3. Okay. Once I rewrite, I can multiply straight across. I don't have any cross cancel opportunities. There we go. And I've got -12 over 1, or just -12. That's our best answer. And then -1 over 12 here. So notice the difference between their answers. Okay, I rotated the numbers in the division problem, and that caused a reciprocal of the answer, right? With my -12, I flip it and get 1/12. So their answers are reciprocals of each other. I think that's really cool. Really, really cool. All right, let's see. Let's do, and we'll definitely do 2 examples of these, or maybe just 1 example of this together, because I really want to know that you guys can flip and cross cancel. Again, no opportunity here, but let's do a division with decimals problem. Number 4. We have a fairly quick lesson today. So, all righty. And these guys, I highly recommend use the calculator as a tool. Yes, you need to do the work by hand, but my gosh, you can use that tool to make those multiplications go faster. Or how many times does this go in here? Like utilize the tool, okay? All right, let's do, I want to do another 0.7. Okay. That's fine. We'll do another 0.7. My example, that's funny. It's the same answer or a number on the outside. Okay, never, not relevant for you guys to hear. So we have 329 thousandths, -329 thousandths divided by -7/10. Okay, and again, I'm kind of writing it that fancy way, the mature way. So how that translates to a division problem we would put that negative 0.7 on the outside. And we have our 0 and 329 thousandths on the inside of the house, okay? So earlier I mentioned that some people like to move the decimal first and then write it. Some people do it inside or once they set it up. Here's what I mean by that. If I were to move this decimal over to create a whole number, I would move it once, which means I move it once over here. When you move that, you need to place the new decimal where it's located. And so this can look tricky for some people. So I'm going to rewrite it. Let me do it one more row lower. There we go. Negative 0, 3.29. I truly don't need that 0 there, but I'm going to keep it just so you guys can see what I truly did. All I did was move that decimal and rewrite it in its new form. This is definitely, oh, sorry, that decimal's not supposed to be there. This is definitely easier. And let me show you what I just did there. I wish I could go back and rewind, but I can't. Since I moved the decimal behind the 7, that 0 does nothing for me. And it looks better for my brain like that than it does like this, right? Don't have to worry about it. So I'm going to get rid of it. And I can do that again because the decimal is gone. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and divide them and even figure out what the sign of my answer is going to be before I start, just so I can kind of get that out of the way and not think about the negatives either. I have a negative divided by a negative. There we go, which gives me a positive result. So I know my answer is going to be positive. 7 does not go into 3. Put a 0. It does go into 32, right? Goes in 4 times. We'll subtract 28. Notice I'm not really worried about the decimal just yet. 32 minus 28 is 4. Bring down the 9. 7 goes into 49 7 times. Now I get a remainder of 0. Okay. Notice how I didn't really think about the negatives as I was going through that. I didn't really worry about the decimal as I was going through that. Now I'm going to put that decimal in my quotient and call it my final answer, 0.47. A positive is 2 negatives divided by, or excuse me, a negative divided by a negative is a positive answer. Okay. Like I said, you could probably watch these and soak up the information, writing it down, but I think it's much better to try and do one together live. So I'll probably do one fraction problem together as we get together and then one decimal problem when we get together. Okay. Your homework is big ideas, just like yesterday. And if you need help, again, after our meeting, after I do 2 more examples, we can do more of those together too. Okay. Come prepared with questions from last night's homework if you have them. See you soon.